We're here with Dad. We've been saying we've been going to do this for a long time. I think it's been over a year that I said, hey, let's interview Dad, who's retired, and about he sells on eBay. And a lot of people were like, hey, interview Dad, interview your dad. So I was like, you know what? I got some time, so let's go ahead and do it. This is Dad. How are you doing? Thank you for coming over.
I'm doing well.
Thank you for helping through the storage units and everything like that. And we got a couple questions. We had a couple people actually ask questions that we have written down, and then maybe you can give some insight as retiring or selling as we're being retired. So how long have you been retired?
Probably 7-8 years.
Seven.
I retired when I was 60.
All right, I think that's going to be important later on, the age of your retirement. So you retired at the age of 60. Then after retirement, you said, hey, I quit my job. How long did it take you to figure out that you needed something to do? That you went a little crazy in the house?
Like the next day. I don't know if you remember, but me and your mama started a cleaning business. And because we did need something to do. You just can't sit around doing nothing if you've worked all your life. So we started the cleaning business, and for old people and us doing the cleaning, that was just way too much work. And we were growing a very successful cleaning business. So we did that, I think, for a couple years. Then that's, I think, about the same time that you jumped on the eBay bandwagon is when we started really looking at possibly doing that.
Good wagon to be on, too. Not a bad wagon.
Excellent wagon.
Excellent wagon. That kind of goes into this. What was so appealing about selling on eBay? So what was, like, say you were doing your cleaning business, you said it's too hard and physical and stuff like that, because cleaning is difficult. I cleaned with them for a little bit, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And so what was so appealing selling on eBay?
For one thing, schedule. Cleaning, you had to be, it was like a 9 to 5. You actually had to be at certain places, certain times to clean. Sometimes, and we would do some rentals. You had to be there at certain times. One thing I always found appealing about working for myself was you didn't, you had to work, but your scheduling wasn't like, again, a 9 to 5. eBay, you can turn it on, turn it off whenever you want. So you can, you want to take a vacation, you want to go to a birthday party, you want to do whatever. It's not like you have to be somewhere. You can absolutely tailor it to your lifestyle, to your schedule.
That's why I also like eBay too. We were talking about this on the last video about the difference between like live selling and eBay. You kind of hit on it there. It's like eBay, you kind of set it and put it on eBay and forget it, where live selling, you have to be there. So if you're scheduled at 6 o'clock, you got to be there at 6 o'clock. If you're working on eBay, like you said, you could have a couple hours to list during the day in the beginning and say, hey, I'm done for the rest of the day, and it's over. And then you just ship your items out as they sell. So what have you liked most about doing this in retirement?
Again, the freedom of being able to, for one thing, it supplements your income pretty good, depending on the level that you want to go at this. But the freedom, I guess, is really key. That you could take this to whatever level you want. It's up to you how much, if you're supplementing your income or just doing it to have extra cash in your pocket or whatever. And it can work both ways. It can help you meet your monthly obligation on your bills, or it can, me and your mother fund 3 to 4 cruises a year doing this.
They're cruisers.
Yeah, we like to cruise.
They always go cruising for a cruising.
Honestly, we've funded all our cruising through this. So again, you take it at whatever level that you want.
So let's talk about levels here. Follow-up question is how many like listings do you have right now on eBay? Do you know?
Right now, have about 1,080.
1,080. And when you started that, did you automatically go into like a store? Like, do you have a store, or you still use like a no store? Do you pay monthly for a store?
I pay monthly for a store. And now we sort of had a leg up on a ton of people because you were already doing this. So you guided us into, and if we had a question, which even still now, if I run into a Jambo, it's like get on the phone and it's like, did you?
Now, Jambo, is that a technical term?
Jambo.
Raise your hand if you know what a Jambo is.
Jambo is a construction term.
Really?
Yeah, you ain't never. You've been working with me long enough to know what a Jambo is.
I didn't really listen half that
Actually,
time.
I've been known as a Jambo.
Talking about the money thing, so you retired at 60, and a lot of people were asking about Social Security taxes. And we're not tax professionals. It's not any type of tax information, but you are retired. There is taxes that go along. You have to pay your taxes when you're working on eBay. It is a business. So how does that work with, if you could just shed some light about the Social Security taxes as much as you can. Again, this ain't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not tax professionals, but there is some stuff that you did learn going into this about the tax situation.
Yeah, for one thing, treat it as a business. Don't think that you're just going to skate by this and, and not make it a business. Right from the very beginning. Do whatever you have to do to follow your rules and regulations in your city, county, whatever. And it's not hard. One thing that we all have now that we didn't have back in the day was there's more information out there you can shake a stick at. I mean, and most of it's on YouTube. You could YouTube anything, and then it's up to you to decipher who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. But there are plenty good places to go on eBay to get this information. And as far as your tax people, if you're not, I know nothing about taxes, whatever, but your mother does, and she handles all that. But we also have a tax person. It's not that expensive, if I guess depending on the level of your business, ours is nowhere near at your level, but it's not that complicated. So if it's not that complicated, to have somebody else do your taxes and take care of the whole Social Security thing, because will be to your advantage, because you have to watch how much you make. This I do know. If you once you hit a certain age, you're allowed to make so much. I mean, they still tax a certain percent, but if you go over that, they take, I think it was $1 for every 2 you make. I don't know about you, but I'm not giving any money back. No. So you got to keep an eye on that. But you do get to a certain point where the older you get, and we've already passed that. But honestly, I don't.
Do you know the age of when you pass it?
I think it's 67.
How old are you now?
How old I am 67.
67. Copy that. So somewhere between the age of 60 and 67, something happens with taxes.
My full retirement age was 66 and a half.
Okay.
So I was, but I think at 65 you were allowed to, I don't know.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
So basically, treat it as a business and get a tax person to help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're not good at tax, like I said, in your case, you have one other income, which is just eBay. You don't sell on any other type of platforms. Do you do Macari, Poshmark, live selling? Do you do any of that, or are you just solely eBay?
Okay. I tried, again, watching you do this and watch other, because I also watch a lot of the other things on a big YouTuber, and follow the guys that do all this stuff. And I tried Whatnot, hated it. It just wasn't for me. I thought about cross-listing, and that did not, it was just way too complicated. I'm not a complicated person. I like everything simple. I love eBay. I like all my eggs in one basket. Now, there are some people that like to venture out and do all them other things. Hey, that's fine. Me personally, I find it, and Robin helps with it. She also does
Robin's
this.
my mom.
Robin's mom. But she also does this with me. Gotcha. Or we do it together.
Gotcha.
And so, but no, I don't, I like eBay alone. I think it's a great platform, but I don't, and it's, it's an individual thing. If you like getting into all that other stuff, but not me.
Because it is more simplistic just to do one, and if it's supplementing your income exactly how you need it, then there's no extra headache about cross-posting, and sometimes people kind of try to do too much when they probably don't need to do too much.
No.
And if you can just start with eBay and you like it, then stick with it, and it's actually, very, very easy to do that.
Also, too, as we get older, don't want to get, I mean, I don't want to get into a whole bunch of different things. I mean, it's complicated enough to, to understand the one thing about this, you know, eBay. To lump all this stuff in there, I don't need that type of aggravation just to make, again, you know, some extra money, keep myself busy, which it definitely does that.
So let's talk about the setup of your eBay store. When you first started, what was some things, so some people, again, that, you know, might have been on fixed income or something like that. What were the things that you absolutely needed when you started that was like, I needed this to actually start the eBay? And then what were a couple things as you got progressively into eBay, you were like, hey, you don't need it, but it's nice to have. So when you first started, what was like the first things that you were like, hey, I need this to actually start?
All right, well, I needed a computer, and we use desktop. I've always had it in my business. I just had a desktop. And I went and bought one on eBay, a repurposed one, and it works just fine. We started this 4 to 5 years ago. It's still working. So a computer was a must.
Yeah, I was there. It was only like a $200 computer.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we got like that and a keyboard and a tower thing.
So you don't need, that's not a huge investment. $200 for a nice desktop that was refurbished.
Correct. You don't need to go and run up to Best Buy and buy the top of the line. Again, we bought it repurposed, and it works just fine. Scale. I have a shed or garage that I keep a scale out there, and then wherever I list from, we have a scale. I found carrying it from one place to the other was like a pain. They're not a lot of money. And also too, how many times you see them in Goodwill? You know, so you could, again, a lot of this stuff you don't have to buy brand new. We use a Dymo labeler for our shipping. That thing has been flawless. Keep it clean, but it's works flawless. And that we did buy new.
Did you start out with the Dymo, or did you start printing and pasting, or did you start out with the?
I think we started with the Dymo.
That's probably my idea.
But I believe in certain glitches, we had to print from our printer.
Gotcha.
A label. Again, no big deal.
Gotcha. So you do have a printer though also?
Oh, we do have a printer,
okay.
Yes. Which we just upgraded our printer because the other one stopped working.
Yeah. So where do you list? Okay, so that would be like the printing of it. That would be the eBoo side of it, where you're actually on the computer doing stuff. Now, are you listing on your computer? Do you have like a different camera, or are you using your cell phone for everything?
I use a cell phone for everything.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I don't know that I've sold over 4,200 items, and I don't think one time have ever used the computer to list. I've always used the phone. Oh, that was another, probably the biggest investment was I upgraded my phone.
Gotcha.
And that having a good phone, I think really does help. Now, I don't know nothing about the phone, but I know that I know that it works.
I know it's there.
I know it's there. Yeah, it doesn't eat much.
So that's okay. So you did upgrade your phone.
Yes.
And it wasn't like you didn't actually buy the top of the line phone. You bought like a mid-grade Samsung phone.
Yes.
Because I was there when you bought it. So I know which one that you actually got. It wasn't like a, it wasn't like a $2,000, $3,000 phone. It was
Absolutely not.
No, it was one of those. So you can start this, and most people right now that are watching this are either on a computer or you're on your cell phone. So already right there, you have most what it takes to get started, right?
Absolutely.
So there's not probably much there. So little overhead is what we're getting at here to actually start this business.
Very little overhead.
When you first started eBay, what was the biggest hurdle? Like that was going through your mind? Like what was your like, well, I don't know about that, or I don't know about this. Was it the technology? Was it the shipping? Was it what's selling? What like really that you had to get over to actually start it?
For me, it was the whole idea, even before we started, the whole idea, I think they kept me from like, I don't know if I want to do this, was the shipping. Being, looking into it a little bit, seeing what you did and how much was involved in that. I'm thinking, I'll never, I remember I was a contractor. I mean, hammer and nails and whatever. No.
Hold on. I've seen this man lift like a 5-story building with a bottle jack. He's worried about shipping things. But that's how it is, though. Two different things, right?
Yes, two different animals.
Remember
there.
that bottle jack thing we did and listed that
Well,
big old
they were
condo?
big bottle jacks.
I mean, it wasn't a little bottle jack, but it was a big bottle jack. But all right, so the shipping you were a little worried about.
I was worried about the shipping. And now, like the computer, I was not a computer guy. I was like one of the last ones out there, probably in construction or in business, that I was just shied away from using a computer. I still did all my proposals and invoices on a Brother typewriter. And I had guys
2020.
and I had guys in the bit absolutely laugh at me because you got to get with the program here and get yourself a computer. And it took me the longest time. So I was just, even now, one little thing happens and I'm like, I want nothing to do with it. So you have to have patience with the equipment.
Right.
And mostly the computer, because again, a glitch happens and, it could be a very simple glitch. And I might look at it as like, well, this thing is worthless.
Now, about the shipping, did you find out that it was actually easier than you thought to ship things on eBay?
Once you start doing it and then you learn different things, because I estimate a lot. What kind of shipping do I do?
You do estimated
shipping.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I could
estimated shipping is where that you're not doing free shipping. You're having the buyer pay for the shipping if people don't know what that is.
Correct. I have not sold one thing with free shipping.
Okay.
I started with estimated shipping and I will do that to the end. I find it very fair. And
now when you're estimating, say like you're selling this little Yorkie right here, right? Now you're selling little Yorkie. Are you then like, you've been doing this a while, so you right now kind of know probably go in an 8x6x4 box or 4x4x4 or something like that.
Right.
And it's probably going to be 14 ounces, probably 13 ounces. But we know that because we've been doing that for a while. When you first started, did you actually put this on the scale and kind of get like a tape measure, or did you just kind of guess?
No, in the beginning I did all that. I would actually weigh Yorkie, the box, the shipping material, the size, and go through all that. But once you do get into, now if you're selling like all like items, very simple. Like say if you just got into shipping or selling postcards,
Right.
You don't get any simpler than that.
Sure.
But if you I have shipped items over 100 pounds. That still stay within either UPS or USPS guidelines. And I don't shy away from selling anything now. I've never sent anything freight, but as far as UPS and USPS are the two main ones I use, I don't have a problem shipping anything now.
So in the beginning though, you were actually on your scale putting the object, the box, and then the shipping material to get that weight that you would type in for estimated shipping.
Correct.
And then the box amount, like what the dimensions were on the box.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was easier than you thought when you first started, and then what has been more difficult? Like you kind of touched a little bit on there, how you're kind of an old school guy that used to, you're on a typewriter, but now you're on like an algorithm driven thing, right? That's what eBay is. It's algorithm driven. Nobody knows how that works or anything. So what was like the easier thing? Was shipping easier? Was listing easier? And then what has been more difficult?
Shipping has been, once you learn it, and again, if you're just staying with certain items or whatever, and actually, no matter what you do, shipping ended up being not that big of a deal. Dealing with eBay as far as, like say feedback and comments.
I heard you liked the negative feedback and the mean comments. It's your favorite part.
I tell you what, if you do everything right, you'll find out you'll get very little nasty comments. I mean, that whole thing there is if you do everything right, like let's say with your shipping, don't throw my little goat friend, Mickey here, with his little antlers in there. Just don't throw him in a poly bag. His antlers are going to break off.
That's true.
If I bought this and you sent that to me, well, guess what? I'm going to leave you a nasty comment. Mickey gets his own little case, protect the ears. people, if you read my comments, but they love it when you take care in wrapping their stuff. I mean, this is all new to them. I mean, they're buying this for some reason.
Sure.
So that I thought was going to be a hassle, like, dealing with people. But the work I did, I had to deal with people one-on-one. This business here, well, you don't, and it's great. So if you're not like a real people person, then this is really great. And then learn how to control your emotions or whatever. If somebody does leave you a bad and I learned this from you, don't do it. Don't have the urge to, to go back at somebody, because everything that they write and you write, Ebu sees.
That's right.
And you don't want no bad feedback. So again, you just do the right thing. But as far as the shipping, making sure that everything is shipped proper, that ended up being easier than what I thought. Just take the extra time to do that.
All right, so it's funny because that was your biggest hurdle, turned out to be your easiest thing that was actually happened. And then so your most difficult thing that you deal with eBay, what do you think that is?
I think the most difficult, and I'm still trying to get over it and just let it go, is trying to figure what's the algorithm, how eBay works. I'll list a ton of stuff and you can go through the whole thing. You say, okay, Mickey here, they sell constantly for $20 all the time. And you put your Mickey on there and he just sits there. And you're like, why isn't he selling?
You think you should put your Mickey on a mantle?
This Mickey's going to go on a mantle. But trying to figure out why and how things work, or the glitches on eBay, don't do it. I mean, just, bear with it, or try to keep away also. And again, I'm a big YouTube watcher. Going on there and listen to other people and their ideas. Hey, if you want to listen to it as entertainment, fine. Nobody, if you watch this stuff, nobody knows how this stuff works. And if they do, guess what?
Well, they would have $100 million.
Yeah.
If you would have all your sales, because I would agree with that.
So, and then here's the thing. Here's another beauty about eBay. You might buy something and it sits there for a while. You think, it's never going to sell. Well, the next week, guess what? It sells. Now, the thing is, do you have the room to, to keep all that stuff? But we have found out that everything sells. I don't care what it is. It will end up selling. It may sit there for a long time. I just sold a hat this morning, had a low number on it, 2,000 something. I'm already up close in my SKU system. I'm approaching not too far from 6,000 items that I have listed. The thing I did this morning was like number 2,200 something, a hat.
All right, so we might touch on this a little bit later on, but your SKU system there that you just said, so you have some sort of way when you're listing these items to find them, right?
Correct.
That might be a different video if y'all want to see that. Tell us down below. We could even tour Dad's shop if we wanted to.
We have never, again, in selling over 4,200 items, we have never not found an item.
I did not find an item yesterday.
I've watched your shows.
So that's important right there, is also organization. So did you start with number 1?
Yes.
Okay, so you sold something was in the 2,000s, now you're in the 6,000s. That was a 4,000 listing later, but it's still sold on eBay. Yes. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. So you're still saying the most difficult part of eBay is basically just the mind game of what they play on views to watchers to when it sells.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in all the trying to figure it out. Put good stuff on there. That's all. That was another thing. I don't know if you were going to hit on this later, but when we first started out buying, I bought stuff that I liked. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and you have weird taste.
Yeah, I do have weird taste. And I was like, ooh, I like this. Well, you know what? The 8 other billion people in the world don't like Mickey. Yeah. So, but you learn. We have learned now of what I'll never buy again. Or maybe in that category, like hats. I love buying hats. Well, I still have a lot of hats. Yeah. Now Okay, we went out to, it was a couple weeks ago, went out to Goodwill and I picked up like 4 hats. Well, one of them was a Reebok, made in the USA, had some letters on there, CCM or something, I don't know. But it was like, as soon as I picked it up, I'm thinking, just by doing this, recognizing, hey, it's probably worth something. Well, it was. We ended up selling a hat for like $24.
Can't go
Now,
wrong.
I'll sell a hat, I'll buy a hat for $1 and
Yeah.
sell it for 24.
That's pretty
But
good.
but if you're buying a hat for 99 and you're going to make $4 or $5, I wouldn't waste my time anymore.
Gotcha. So there's a lot there in that conversation.
I forgot.
Forgot where I was. When you're selling, you kind of already alluded to it, you sell a little bit of everything.
Correct.
So would you suggest that's a good way to start, or do you suggest getting into, you also say if somebody just sold postcards, like that would be okay too, but what do you think is the best practice there? This is kind of controversy here because some people say niche selling is better or selling everything is better. What do you say in retirement? What do you think is the best way to sell, or what,
If, okay, say you're like a hobbyist and you like model airplanes and you're really into that and you see that, they sell, well, you might want to stick with model airplanes and just keep it real simple. I mean, everything would be simple. Your shipping, everything would be very, very easy. I sell, I don't care what it is. If
Yeah, you sell a lot.
I sell everything. I mean, because we don't mind parting things out. There's a lot of money to be made in parting things out.
Yes, there is.
I mean, which is funny because your mama gets mad at me because she'll, if I, like my coffee maker, I just bought a new coffee maker. And my old one was only a couple years old. And so instead of just throwing it away, well, I parted it out.
That's it.
I got rid of the part that didn't work and sold the rest of it.
Yep.
So
you're saying buying, if you don't have knowledge in one thing, that's okay, basically. You can go out there and learn about a whole bunch of different things and sell it on eBay.
Absolutely. And that's what we do is sell everything. And I mean, there's nothing, as long as you can sell it on eBay, I'm selling it on eBay. And as far as the knowledge, if you're not knowledgeable in antiques or collectibles or whatever, we have something now that we didn't have back in the day. You have YouTube.
Yeah.
You can go now on YouTube. It's like the greatest thing in the world. Where before you would actually have to, like in my business, back in the day, we didn't have computers or anything. So if I needed to know some information, I had to buy a book. Well, I ended up with I could fill this wall up with a library of books. Now,
where would you buy your books? Like at the bookstore?
like Barnes and Noble.
Man.
Well, there was a couple other ones, but you would buy books and you would get your knowledge from there. Now, this is amazing.
Now, back in there, did you have like a tablet that you chiseled on? Funny guy. What are some issues that you ran into that you didn't think about? Is it, you already said a little bit about the computer. Sometimes there is glitches there with eBay that you'll run into. Maybe you're using too much space that you didn't know. What are some issues that you thought like, whoa, didn't think of this when you started it?
Space.
Like outer space, like astronauts?
Over time, me and your mother have downsized because we didn't need the houses that we had, all the stuff that we had. I've already sold all of it. But think about it. I've got 1,080 items in the store. We got to put that somewhere. Yeah. We have downsized to a very small house and very little ground. We are debating right now whether to rent a storage unit. Now, again, that's more overhead.
Right.
So if you're trying to keep this very small, then you might not want to do that. And I cannot, there's sometimes I cannot not buy something because we'll buy, as far as sourcing, which you might get into that, but depending on where you're sourced, if you're just sourcing at Goodwill, okay, you're only buying not that much. But if you go to estate sales, auctions, whatever, then you can get a whole lot more stuff. I like glassware. I like, plates and cups and stuff and stuff like that. And well, if you're buying whole sets of this, you got to have a place to put it. You know, auto parts, large auto parts. So that, and again, because I'm running out of room, I'm like, okay, if I come on something and it's like, man, that's a good deal, you know, what, you not buy because you don't have the space?
Gotta buy
But
it.
you got to buy it. So next thing you know, it could overrun your house, easily overrun your house. I just had a whole bunch of stuff on my dining room table, covered the dining room table. I spent 3 days listing this stuff. And it took that, you know, then once you list it, you got to put it somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
So now if you got a big old house, probably not going to be an issue. If you are in a condo or you really downsized, you think about what you're going to buy and where you're going to put it. Unless you don't mind spending a little extra money for a storage unit, which, again, we're thinking about that. I think it's going to be a good option for us.
What size storage unit would you get? A 5x5, 10x10?
I would start out with a 5x5.
5x5.
Again, because we're looking at, as long as you're selling and you're keeping that ball moving, then you're always making space. So, you know, if you're doing good on one thing, making sure you are buying good stuff and you're selling, you will always constantly have some space. But if you hit a dry spot or whatever and you're still buying and it ain't selling, then it could be an issue. But right now, like I said, my shed, if we ever do like a walkthrough thing, it's like,
that's good.
It's pretty.
People like to
pretty
see that.
No.
Don't clean it. 'Cause people, we want to see the real shed of Dad about what it looks like. Because people get to see the real storage units that we have. When things come in, it's not a pretty sight. It just takes a while to get through stuff.
Yeah, now see, yours is like lovely compared to what I have. When you walk into my shed, it looks like you're walking into something in the 1950s. But it's like,
when you were born, so maybe it makes you feel home.
I like knick-knacky stuff. There's a couple things I like collecting. And
like small goats?
Small goat. I also like collecting heads. Heads of of like ceramic heads, doll heads.
Really odd. This is why the stuff he used to buy on eBay never sold. Trying to sell ceramic doll heads was not a big hit.
No. But good collectibles, though.
Good collectibles, though.
Yeah.
We'll have to view that one day. All right, so basically we've ran into, this is just like a starter of what it's like. We might actually do a follow-up if y'all have more questions. But what is like your advice on just to get started? Just to go ahead and jump into it? Or is there anything that they should start doing? Maybe talk to a tax person? Or what are the steps? If they have never sold on eBay, what would be your first step to go ahead and start?
I personally, being as I had been in business before, is figure out all the business stuff. Like where I live, it's on leased land. To obtain a business license, I had to get the permission of the people that own the land. No big deal, as long as they're not against it. You know, they don't want like big trucks coming in there and whatever. They want to make sure all that. But make sure that you're going to be able to do everything. If you own your property, no big deal. But I would do the business aspect part of it first, making sure that you can get your license that you're going to need to sell, and follow up on your tax stuff, depending on what your age is, know how much money that you want to kind of, shoot for, your banking, get all your banking stuff. So the whole business thing I would do first. And making sure that this thing would even work for you, because there could be some hurdles there, and usually it's not. Long as really it's not. Then you need stuff. Well, then you want to like set up your your equipment that you're going to need to do that. And again, all this information can be had on YouTube. Your channels, other guys that I watch, I follow.
Like step-by-steps type of thing.
Yeah, follow that. It's all, pretty simple. It's not a big thing.
But yeah, we get a lot of questions about, do you need a business license? Do you need this? All of that is contingent on where you live.
Yes.
In the state of South Carolina, it is completely different than Florida or North Carolina. And actually, each city is different in South Carolina. And get this, each county in South Carolina is different. And the state is even different on that. It doesn't take long to get information. Just call.
When when I was in construction here, when I first started out, and I think it has changed, I had to have a business license in every county and city. Georgetown County, Horry County, Surfside, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. I had to have a business license in each one of them places if I wanted to work. I mean, that was insane, just 5 or 6 of them, where now I think they've kind of streamlined that a little bit, I think.
You would hope.
I would hope, because that was one of them things. It was like, this is crazy. So same thing with, you want to make sure that you do everything on the up and up. Don't treat it as just a way to make some money and, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. Yeah. You want to do it. And the thing is, you get it done. It's not, like I said, it's not complicated. And you'll sleep good at night. You'll make, if you follow everything will fall in place.
So that is all the questions that I had and actually saw in the comments. If you guys have any other questions for Dad, we only really grazed. I didn't really realize, I was the ones writing the questions here. For some of them, I didn't really realize how much information can be talked about selling on eBay. Because we didn't even hit into sourcing. We didn't hit into how you source when you're retired, where you go, how you do all that stuff. We didn't get into any of that. Where you buy your boxes. We didn't get into none of that information. And with it right now, it's probably...
Oh, yeah, 'cause there's a lot of information there.
Yeah, tons. So if you guys want to know that, maybe see a tour of Dad's place. Again, hit me down below. We can see his collection of ceramic doll heads. Super excited about that. But we do appreciate everybody that has watched this. Again, any questions you have, go ahead and tell me down below. Do you have anything else to say about anybody starting? Just
go for it. It's a good way, especially as we get older, to socialize. I mean, if you were in a job that you dealt with people and now you're out of that environment, this is a good way in all aspects of this to socialize. And as we get older, we need that.
Yeah, because you get to go out, the yard sales, talk to people. He is tough, though, when he goes to yard sales. He will get in a conversation, and it's over. An hour later, I'm pulling him away like, I got stuff to do, Dad.
Well, when you meet, again, the people with like interests, or from back home, which, we get to meet a lot of people from back home or that area. And again, it's socializing. And again, as we get older, we need that.
So go ahead and tell us down below. We appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you on the next one.